Hi, welcome to another edition of the Gentleman Cabbie. Thank you so much for watching, I really appreciate it. Please don't forget to hit the like button and leave a comment below to let me know what you think of the video. And if you have any questions that you want to ask me, or if you want to make any suggestions for questions for future interviews, that'd also be much appreciated. So sit back, I hope you enjoy this latest interview, and please don't forget to subscribe.
My name's Mckenzie. I am a lecturer at the London School of Economics and general pain in the arse.
My name's Paul Sung and I'm a filmmaker and slightly less of a pain in the arse.
I'm in this cab today because we're going to talk about another film premiere.
Yeah, indeed we are. Well, go on, do you want to tell us what you've been up to, guys?
The film that we're talking about is called Dispossession, the Great Social Housing Swindle, and it's a feature documentary about the human effect of the housing crisis, how it affects people. So, you know, all films are political and this one is political, but it's about mainly how it affects people's lives. So I directed it, Lisa is an associate producer of it and also appears in it. It's
about really council housing, it's about the decline of housing for working class people.
The concept kind of came about originally, me and a friend of mine, we were looking at, you know, making a film about how many ex-servicemen and women are homeless. That idea didn't sort of really get off the ground, but when you start doing research into housing and how it affects people, you realise that it's affecting absolutely everyone. As Lisa said, working class communities are being socially cleansed. There are people that are then affected by that, whether, you know, whatever class they're from, people are feeling something from the housing crisis.
What has happened is council housing is on the front line of the housing crisis.
Yeah.
Because when you've got no council housing, no social housing, what has happened over the last 20 years is we've relied on private landlords to fill the gap that we need for housing. In order to work in a city, to live in a city, to work anywhere, you've got to have a roof over your head.
Yeah.
This is a social good.
I drive around London every day and I'm constantly reminded by the tall skyscrapers that now sit there, which are just luxury flats where there once used to be social housing. You know, it's
yeah, I mean, a lot of those properties are empty. It's as you know, people have said, it's housing for ghosts. Nobody actually lives there. It's all foreign investors.
We've got people being moved out all over the country because there's nowhere for them to live in London. Now that's a smack in the face when you see these places that are going up and you know that they're sitting empty. We could think that this is just happening in London, and actually it's not, because there is a housing crisis all over the country. So what the film has done, it's gone all over the country. You know, we went up to Glasgow, found out what was happening there.
So from having done this film, what are the biggest lessons or things that you found out that you didn't know before you started?
I think one of the things that I found out that I didn't really know is that people are beyond angry about it. They can do something about it, and so all it takes though is for people to know what they can do. You know, it's about what we're trying to do as well with the screenings is to connect campaigns around the UK so they can all learn from one another, because I think the way to winning this and the way to saving, you know, not every estate, but the way to saving some estates is to make it very difficult for the property developers who work with the councils to go through with it, because you can't really rely on, you know, politicians to solve the housing crisis.
No.
You should be able to, but you can't. So it's about people
doing it themselves
and supporting one another.
So what is happening in London, which is people being moved out and kicked out, in other parts of the country, it's about private landlords not maintaining properties and people living in slums. Property is seen as a commodity rather than a home.
I mean, a council home is just as much of a home as a privately owned home, because it was a lifelong tenancy.
But
it did change after right to buy, I think, you know, and then into, Lisa says, into you know, the new Labour period.
Yeah, we're not talking about units, we're not talking about property, we're actually talking about people's homes, families and communities, and that really is what is at the heart of housing. It really isn't about the four walls.
Yeah.
It's about the people.
The community.
So the minute you start smashing those communities up, what you're actually doing is smashing up families
Yeah.
and people's love for each other.
So did you have any preconceptions before you made the film that were dispelled?
A lot of the problems are being caused by councils in London, Labour-run councils, and I did have some preconceptions about that. Maybe Labour, we're always going to be in support of social housing, and through making this film, we've realised that a lot of the councils will say, "Oh, our hands are tied. It comes down from government legislation," and that's true to a certain extent, but they need to get a lot smarter. I mean, we always use the Heygate estate as an example in everything.
The Heygate estate.
You've got 1,000 odd homes, which were housed 3,000 people, families that had lived there for generations, in a working class community. And when Southwark Council went into business with Lend-Lease, an Australian property developer, to redevelop the site was demolished.
Yeah.
They then built around about, I think, 2,200 odd new homes, luxury apartments amongst them. How many of those places do you think went for social rent once the new development was built?
I would say probably 1% or something ridiculous like
82.
that. Yeah.
82 out.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I think, these councils, I don't know if you found this when you made the film, but are greedy, and the developers offer them a lot of money for the land,
and they turn it down.
And they go, "Yeah, I'll have that."
But
a lot of them are in debt. I mean, Lambeth for something like 60 million in debt. I think, not sure that's the exact figure, but they're millions and millions of pounds in debt, and they're planning to demolish Cressingham Gardens. They're planning to demolish Central Hill, and these are estates where these people are really organised on these estates, and they get in experts. And in Cressingham, they formed their own thing called the People's Plan, which had used architects, accountants, surveyors, and they did a great job of saying, look, this is our plan. You don't have to demolish. You can build on the existing estate. And it was all above board. It was creating extra social housing, more social housing than the council would have provided. And Lambeth just said no, because they've made a deal.
They've made a deal.
Something's rotten there. These are Labour-run councils, and the Labour Party have said in their election manifesto, we will build 500,000 council homes. Well, the party at the top needs to know, the dog needs to know what his tail's doing, because it's great that Jeremy Corbyn said that, but he needs to get on estates, he needs to speak to these people and find out what his local councils are doing. And the problem comes down to, in terms of public opposition to it, which there isn't as much as there maybe should be, it's down to the way that council housing has been stigmatised and denigrated in the arts and the media. I mean, you've seen things like Benefit Street and Little Britain, Shameless, where council tenants and people that live on estates are seen as being worthless. And that's not what council housing was about. It was never intended to be that, and it still isn't really, but it's just the perception of it which is all skewed.
Well, I think that the thing is, more and more people are being dragged into the situation where they cannot afford to buy their home. In fact, I mean, anyone on a normal wage could not afford to buy a house in London.
I think we're all sort of sitting back and watching how far can this go.
Well, that's
because I think that's another. We are all, particularly with housing in London, because it's like we know that this is a bubble. We know, and
it's bursting,
and when I think it's just going to burst. I don't think it's going to deflate.
No, I mean, these things tend to go bang,
and then where will we be?
Exactly. I mean, Islington Council paid, I think it was something like 6 million for a load of former right to buy properties which they'd sold to people. They bought them back to cope with their housing crisis. Estate agents now in London are giving away cars and incentives for people to buy houses because the bubble is going to blow.
This is what worries me as well. I mean, it'll be great. It will be great long term that house prices come down, but there's going to be a lot of people who now lose their homes as a direct result of that, and that isn't good on the other hand, is it?
No. This is why I think we're all now sat on the edge of this, because I think we all realise that actually no one's in control over it.
So when's the film launching? How can we get to see it?
The world premiere is at the East End Film Festival on June the 8th, which happens to be election night.
Very well timed.
Come along to that. It's going to be at Rio Cinema in Dalston. Tickets go on sale. Well, by the time you see this, they'll be on sale. And then the film has its West End premiere on the 15th of June at Picture House Central. And then we're going to be taking it sort of around the country on a tour of screenings and Q&A. So we'll be going to Nottingham, to Hebden Bridge, to Glasgow, to Birmingham, to Hull, to Manchester, to Leeds, to Brighton. We're going to go everywhere, to Devon, anywhere that wants to show that film. You get in touch with Velvet Joy Productions. We're distributing it ourselves independently. We'll go anywhere to show the film and come along and talk to people, local people about housing issues. At each screening we want local people on our Q&A panel to discuss how it's affecting them and what we can all do.
How can, if people want to get in touch with you at all and find out a bit more about you guys
They go
individually,
to,
where can they find out?
Dispossessionfilm.com or facebook.com/dispossession. On Twitter, Velvet Joy Limited.
Red Rum Lisa.
Yeah.
Right.
Or the nearest bar.
In Bethnal Green.
I'm keeping it real.
If you could put up a massive billboard at the end of 10 Downing Street,
Oh,
what would you put on the billboard?
that's a very good question.
Oh God, nice, stumbling. I see
a
there's
good
so
question.
many things, but if it would have to be catchy, there's nothing too good for the working class.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
There's nothing too good for the working class.
And resign, you weird freak.
Can I just say, it's been a pleasure talking to you guys again. Thank you for jumping in and talking about the launch of the film, and I have to say I'm really looking forward to seeing it. So
Yeah.
good luck.
We're looking forward to it as well.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching The Gentleman Cabbie. Click the videos to see more great interviews, and don't forget to subscribe.